Hello, today we're going to learn how to take the IKEA motorized bed frame and change it from the twin size and use two of them to use them for a queen size bed. So the original here in the package is 38 inches wide. We need to change that to be 30 inches wide. So I have completed one of them that is 30 inches ready to go, and I'm going to show you how to do it so you can do it yourself at home. The tools you will need: some kind of Phillips screwdriver. I'm using power tools here. You'll need some kind of drill. You don't need fancy tools, but of course they come in handy. You're going to need a Torx screwdriver. I believe it's a T15. If you have to buy one, just go ahead and buy a set like I have on the bottom there. There's also a hex head screw you need. I cheated and just used my Torx screw because I didn't have my hex head handy. Don't tell anyone. You'll need a selection of drills. You don't need a large set like this. A small cheap set will do just fine. And I recommend hearing protection if you're going to be using power tools. You're going to need some means to cut metal. Hacksaw will work. I'm using a pneumatic tool here. I'm using a table saw to cut the wood pieces down to length. You can do this just fine with a miter box or even just by hand with any kind of saw that's going to cut wood. That should be it. What you need. What comes in handy also is a small flashlight like I found on the bottom here, and some means to mark your pieces. I'm using a paint marker up there. You can use masking tape or anything else you have lying around. So to start out, we're going to cut this all open. Take these, set them aside for now. Instructions. These little metal doohickeys on the side as well. And the first thing we're going to do is take off this top rail. Now I have access to some additional screws on here. There are 4 of them total. I'm going to take those off. These are the ones that are Torx. Yes, they are Torx. Now we're going to flip the assembly around. I just kind of rotate it down and then lift it up against my saw here. And we'll do the same on the other side. You'll notice these little angle brackets on here. that the flat side without the screws on it was facing towards the bottom of the unit. You're going to want to remember that for when you reassemble it. And again with the 4 screws holding this together. You should now have a few pieces of wood that are no longer attached. You take those out and set them aside. And we've got 4 screws here, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom on each end. We're going to want to take those 4 out, and that's going to release an additional piece. These screws are a little smaller, so we want to remember that when you're putting it back together. Set these aside. These are the ones with the little bumpers on it. And I'll do the other side over here then. Once you remove those wooden supports, everything is free to come apart. So right now, the whole assembly can come apart. Be careful. Set it down again. Now we're going to split it apart, and we're going to take all these wood slats apart. Now you'll notice that 2 of these have an additional slot in the middle. You're going to want to make sure to note where that is so you can put it back together correctly. The way I did that was to take off this rubber piece and use that as an indication that it's a different part. And then since you'll leave the other ones on, you know exactly which ones need that 3rd piece on it. So now we can take all of these out of here and stack them up. These metal bars in here, they're just stuck in these little channels, and they should come out of there. And make sure there's no tension on the bar. Give them just a little wiggle, they'll come right out. This dowel here, probably is a little easier to take off when it's on the end, but if you twist it out of the mount, it's going to be the easiest. So every part of what we've taken apart so far is going to have to be cut down 8 inches, with the exception of the end rails. We're going to leave those alone because that's obviously the length. Now these bars that come across here, instead of cutting 8 inches off on one end, we're going to want to cut off 4 inches off of each side. That way we're going to make sure everything's nice and even, and everything stays nice and symmetrical like you want. I've got my table saw set to cut 4 inches off so I can do all these center slabs. I've also got the height set to be able to do 4 at a time. You can do this by hand, don't worry about it. This is just going to make it a lot faster.